Hi, I'm Ron Robinson with GOP Tech Week. This week we're going into edition number 3, tip number 3 on privacy and security. And today's tip is probably going to make you think I'm just a little bit paranoid. And maybe I am, and maybe I've got some reasons to be paranoid because I'm a conservative. And we know that conservatives are under attack from all directions online. Now, I'm not saying you need to go listen to Alex Jones every day, but some precautions might be in order. Now, if you're not a millennial, you probably remember back in the late 80s and 90s, we started to become friends with a certain country. And while we may not have been great friends with that country's government, our businesses started doing a little bit of business with their businesses, and we found that there were lots of ways that we could do business with that country, and they could prosper and we could prosper. And they learned something about capitalism, which was new to them, and they began to like capitalism, and we taught them a thing or two about how to do good business. Now, right now, governments aren't exactly friends, but the businesses still sort of are friends. Now, the country I'm talking about is Russia, and the service that I'm going to be talking about is called Yandex, Y-A-N-D-E-X, Yandex.com, and that's the Russian Google. So they have email just like Gmail, it's Yandex.com. They have email. They even have a browser that you can download onto your desktop. You can download it onto your phone. You can download it onto your little tablet device that I'm showing off on every video here. That's the Yandex browser on the screen right behind me. That's the Yandex email on the screen over here behind me. Yandex, think about it for a minute. Now, if I'm using a Russian product and they're going to try to advertise to me just like Google tries to advertise to me, but they tend to sell to Russian advertisers, and Russian advertisers aren't trying to target Americans as much as Google is. So Yandex does have email, and Yandex does have a browser that you can use, and they're both good tools. You'll find that Yandex looks so much like Gmail. It's just as easy to sign up, a little bit more anonymous to sign up because you can sign up without a phone number or without an alternate email address, so that can help you maintain your anonymity. Now, am I recommending that you sign up for Yandex as your primary email address? No, I'm probably not. But I have more than one email address, and I can tell you my second email address is definitely a Yandex address. So let's take a look at the screens. We'll show you a little bit on the screens, then I'll come back and I'll wrap up. Okay, Yandex is really easy to get. Now, if you just want to use the email that Yandex provides, you can just go to Yandex.com and you can sign up for email right there at Yandex.com, just like you would at Gmail, except you'll have to give less information. But if you want to download the Yandex browser, just type into Google, type in download Yandex, and there you go. It knows about that, and it will help you get it. So there we go. I'm just going to click install, and it's going to ask me, of course, you could click Windows or you could click the Mac, depending on what machine you have. I have Linux, so I'm going to click for the Linux version. And there we go. It's downloaded. I'm going to keep the file. And actually, I've actually got Yandex already installed. So I'm just going to go to the email here where I've already got Yandex installed. And as you can see, it's been a little while since I actually checked my Yandex email. Now, one of the great things about having offshore email is the fact that since this email is not hosted here in the United States, if you engage in risky behavior, and some of us do, I'm not talking about criminal behavior, but I'm talking about risky behavior as in we might get subpoenaed because of our political views. It's good to have an offshore email account because it's much harder to subpoena information from a foreign entity. So if I have a Russian email account, the subpoena has to go to Russia, and they're much less likely to be responsive to information that I don't want to disclose. I would expect that both the Russian intelligence services and Yandex would probably combine to try to resist a subpoena from a U.S. law enforcement agency. That is a danger now, not just for criminal activity. Of course, we're not recommending that anybody engage in criminal activity, but we have seen indications that our law enforcement agencies may try to turn a political issue into a criminal issue for some conservatives, and we've seen that already. So that might be just a little bit of a risk for some insiders, for some conservative activists here in the United States. So Yandex email is very good, and you can use the Yandex browser as well. Probably discloses less of your personal surfing information. Certainly better than using Google. You have more privacy than Google. If they do advertise to you, yeah, the advertisements are likely to be in Russian. So even if you just spend a couple of minutes thinking about how you'd be safer with a Yandex browser and with a Yandex email address, you can certainly think of quite a few ways in which your privacy is safer. For one thing, you're not using Google, you're not using Gmail, you're using Yandex instead. Therefore, your privacy is enhanced. It is offshore, so there are legal boundaries that have to be crossed for legal action, and those frontiers, those barriers are a little bit harder for agencies to cross than just simply rendering a domestic subpoena. I'm certainly not trying to support anybody who's engaged in any unsavory activity, but we do know that there are cases right now where political activity is being investigated as criminal activity. Right now we have this thing about collusion. Collusion's not a crime, yet the FBI is still investigating it, and people are racking up huge attorney fees. You know, the process is the punishment. They don't need to get a conviction. All they have to do is get you to spend all your retirement money on attorneys, and that's the punishment. The process is the punishment. We want to avoid those. Much harder to subpoena emails from Yandex than it would be to subpoena them from Gmail. So keep yourself safe. Be safe out there. Again, this is tip number 3 out of the 4 tips that we're doing over the next few weeks. Look in the back issues of the blog for tips 1 and 2. This is tip number 3. Use Yandex for offshore email and safer browsing, which can help you enhance your privacy and your security. I'm Ron Robinson with GOP Tech Week. Thanks for watching.